Hi, this is David McCann for WebTNG. In this video, I'm looking at Metabox blocks, specifically a new type of block that the Metabox team has recently introduced. Let's talk about Gutenberg and dynamic data, particularly about displaying custom fields on the front end. There are two ways that people have gone about it with blocks. There is the core way, which is where you have a placeholder block for each field or bit of dynamic data. For example, a featured image block, a post title block, a post content block, and so on. Then there's the more generic way that many third-party block plugins use, which is to allow users to associate a custom field to display based more or less on the field type. So for example, you can have a text type of block to display textual data, a button to display a URL, and so on. We all see the limits of the core approach in that third-party custom fields aren't supported at all. We also know that third-party blocks vary in what types of field data they support. For example, there is a third-party block add-on that only supports text area, URL, color picker, and image fields. If you want to use a map block with a custom field for location, a date, a select list, and so on, you're just out of luck. Basically, what we see is that we're dependent on what third-party developers program for us. The way around that, the way to break free of that limitation, is to code the blocks ourselves. However, the learning curve is pretty steep, and a lot of people want to focus on site building and not programming. Now, both Metabox and ACF provide a custom block solution where you can use PHP to create your blocks. This is a much easier approach because you don't have to learn React.js, but it can still be a lot of coding. Well, now Metabox has added a new type of block. They call it a static content block because you specify what content will be shown when the block is added. For example, let's say you have a custom image field for a book author's photo. In this new type of block, you're basically creating a twig template just for your block output. So we've gone from creating a full-blown block to creating a block with PHP, now to just creating an output template, which is a lot closer to a code snippet. But wait, there's more. You can use these new dynamic data Metabox blocks in the site editor and in theme builder templates, such as those provided by the Cadence Pro theme, to create theme templates. That makes these blocks very powerful. That's what we're going to look at in this video. We're going to do a walkthrough of creating one of these blocks. Before I get too far along, when I started thinking about making this video, I asked in the Metabox user group if it was possible to make blocks like this. And I'd like to thank Scott Brim, who assured me that it was possible, even though I was having some trouble getting the right syntax. And I'd also like to thank the founder of Metabox, who provided me with the right syntax so that I had an example to get started. All right, let's begin now, and let's go to a testing site that I have set up. This has got the 2023 theme, and if we go to the back end, look at plugins, you can see I've got the Metabox core framework installed from WordPress.org, and I have the Metabox all-in-one extension installed. And this is a premium extension, and Metabox blocks is a premium feature, so you will need to have a subscription to follow along with this walkthrough. Now, I've used Metabox, and I created a custom post type called team. If we look at the custom fields here, these are the custom fields that I created for the team member. There's job title, which is text, staff email, which is an email, personal blurb, which is a text area, pet name, which is text field, pet photo, which is a single image, date of hire, which is a date, and then social media, which is a group. Let's look at this one a little more. You can see that it's set to be clonable, and it has two subfields, and the group custom post type is like a container, and I've got two subfields, one called social site, which is a text field, and this would be the name of the social media site, and then link to the social site, which is a URL. So this gives us that repeater type of field. Okay, I've entered a bunch of team member records. Okay, and if we look at one in the editor, we can see the person's name is the post title. The content is their bio. The featured image is their photo. And then we have custom fields for their job title, their email, their personal blurb, their pet, date of hire, and then in this case there are 3 social sites, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And I just have a placeholder URL going to the home page because, this isn't real data. So this is the team member, the custom post type with the custom fields. When you create a MetaBox block, you go to the custom fields area, and you see I've started one here. It used to be that the only way to create a MetaBox block was that you would add the fields here, and the field set would be part of the block. When you wanted to add the values to the fields, you would do it when you added the block to the page and filled in the block options. Now the consequence of this is that the custom fields were not saved as part of the post meta. Instead, they're saved as block data. Now, with this new way of making blocks, you come in here to make a block as we're going to show, but you don't add any fields first. And instead, we're going to read the custom field values out of the post meta. This new type of block allows you to create a block without any fields, and instead we're going to use the custom field group that we created for our team. So I've called this member block, and if we go to settings, you'll see there's this location option. And normally when you're adding a field group, you would add it to your post type, or maybe the settings page or taxonomy. But MetaBox has this option for block. You can add a description, and you can choose an icon. So I chose a user icon. You can do color and background color and whatnot. Then category, this is the block category it's going to show in Gutenberg for picking blocks. And this is the keyword people can search for to find the block. And then this is where you have block settings. It can be in the middle of the page, in the content area, or on the right sidebar. We're not actually going to have any settings, so I just put it on the right sidebar. And here you can add alignment options if you need that for your block. If you want the whole block to be an anchor, if you want to give your block a custom class name. Then there's the block render options. Okay, and you can do a PHP callback or a template file. And this would be the original way you would make a MetaBox block would be here with a template file. But we're going to use the code area. This is a code editor, and you use Twig syntax to create your block template or the output of your block. Before we go on and start adding our code, I wanted to go down just to show you the other fields. You can add a link to custom CSS file or JavaScript file or PHP callback file. There are these variables available when you add those. Tab style doesn't really apply to us, and we don't need to use any of these items here either. Okay, so we have to come up with the HTML and CSS and everything to put in here. And the way I'm going to do that is, here is a team record, individual single record. This is the post content, in this case the biography. I want to add custom field information under here. Like if we look at the fields, these are the fields that we have to work with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the site editor, and we'll create the template for our single team member. You see we don't have one here, but if we go to manage all templates, add new, we see the option to create it here. Okay, so I'm going to click there, and then you could do a custom one for individual records, but I just want to do one template that'll be applied to all single records. And that takes us into the editor here. And what I've noticed is you have the edge of the screen here, but then there's this kind of wide content, and the actual post content's kind of this narrow column in the middle. Okay, and so you see the comments have this same thing. So what I'm going to do is go and find this comments, and you see it's a group here, and this is how, when you group your fields, your columns, your row and columns together, you get that content width. So what I want to do is copy this. Okay, and then go here, and after the post content, I want to insert a block, and I want to paste that. Okay, now we got a bunch of comments. We don't really want the comments. So let's remove the comments. So let's remove the comments, and we have our group, and we see now it's giving us a block in the middle here. So to test this, I'm going to put in a single column block. Okay, and we'll add a paragraph here. Here is some content. All right, go to styles, and we'll give it this very light gray color, background color. Actually, I think I want to do it here. Yeah, because that then puts some padding around it. So let's save this. I just want to look and see, make sure that this is looking good. Okay, so this is looking all right. So I'm going to have two blocks like this. One where we have the job title and the person's work email, and then another block with their personal information. So I'm going to duplicate this so we have two blocks. Okay. So in this top one, what I'm going to do is job title, and all right, and then we'll bold that and bold that. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of creating placeholders, and we're going to grab the HTML for this area, and we're going to turn it into a block. Okay, now on this one, I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to add two columns like this. And here we'll have the image, and we'll just pick the picture of her dog, and we'll make the image 130, by 130. So you see, basically I'm trying to get here the layout that we're going to use. Let's click here. We can add our caption. Okay, then on this side, we'll have a paragraph, which will be, personal blurb, some info here. Let's connect. List of social sites. Okay, and we'll make this bold and this bold. Okay, so this is basically the kind of thing we want to create. And we've gone through now and generated this. Now let's go, and WordPress, we're in the visual editor, there's a code editor option. I'm going to go down and find our columns. Okay, I think that starts here. And go down. Okay, I'm going to copy this. And let's go back to the visual editor. Let's go into our group. Let's remove the columns. And if I've done the right part now, we add our block. Haha, perfect. Save. And look at it here. All right, so we're on the right track. And now let's go and start substituting in our custom fields. One thing I found in working here is that there are not a lot of resources for creating your Twig templates. So it took some trial and error. I think it took me maybe a couple of hours to make the block I'm gonna, showing you. Next time it would be faster for me, but I just thought I'd show you the resources I found in case that's helpful. So here's the video from last month for the new kind of block type or way of creating blocks that MetaBox has. And this is what Scott Brim showed me to show that what I was looking for was possible. Then if we go to the MetaBox website and we look at field types, if we take a field type, for instance, and look at it, it has information about the field type. Now, unfortunately, the examples are all PHP based and not Twig based. Kind of be nice to have some Twig based examples here. But where I found them were in the MetaBox Views extension documentation because it also uses Twig. And so you see here are some Twig examples, some Twig syntax. When I did a video a while ago on MetaBox Views, I created a cheat sheet. And it has some examples here, some information for Twig syntax. And I added in some information here that I found useful, like this is one, how to dump out a variable, how to get the image URL, getting values from a clonable field. So those are things I updated to add there. So this is a resource if you're looking for some help. And of course, speaking of help, you also have MetaBox support team, which is very good. The first thing we're going to need is you need a reference to the post in your code. This is how you set a variable. So P is our variable for post. And MB, this is the MetaBox helper, and you can call any PHP function here in this Twig template using that helper. So I'm calling the function getPost, and it tells you you have the post ID here. Okay, so that's useful. What I'm going to do now where it says job title here is I'm going to add in then the twig variable p dot job underscore title. And then let's see if we got the job title filled in. Go to the front end. It says job title here. And it filled that in. Great. Okay, so that's working. And I like to do little steps like that to make sure things are working. As I said, I kind of walked through doing this. It took a couple of hours, and I don't want to make this video super long, so I'm going to paste in the code that I created for this. So where we have job title, now we have work email. Okay, so I'm going to add the code here for that. And I put in some non-breaking spaces so they wouldn't be removed. The white space wouldn't be removed when it's saved. And then I have an anchor tag with a mail to, and I have the staff email variable, and then the post title variable, because remember the team member, the post title is their name. Okay, so let's save that and take a look here. There we have the job title. It looks like I've got that in there twice, so let's get rid of that. The joys of copy paste. And I think that should do it. Oops, need to get rid of this also. And now, usually, I think the best practice would be that if you wanted to do any styling, you would add a CSS class and add something to your style sheet. But just to make it quick and easy, I'm going to add in some inline styles, adding text align center here. And we'll refresh. And here's the job title and email. Okay, so we've got that part. So if we go and look at the image, and you see the image source here, I would hope that we could just put in the p.pet photo, and that would work, but it doesn't. I'm going to tell you in advance that that's not going to work, but it's part of the process I went through. So alt tag will add the variable p.pet name for the custom field. And then for the caption, we'll put the pet name, the variable for that here also. p.pet underscore name. All right, let's save this and go take a look. We do not have the image here. And that's, so let's actually inspect that. And let's see if you can see that. What it ends up having here, source, it just has a number there. And that's because WordPress stores not the URL to the image here, but a pointer to the image. So that's some kind of record number, and that's not going to work as the source. There's another step that we need to take here, and that is that we're going to need to get the image array that has the different image fields in it. This was one of the pieces that took a little while, but this was actually not too bad. Finding this. And what I did is I went here to the documentation and I looked to see what fields were in the array And so I'm going to grab the full URL field. So it tells here how you can use these functions to get the values. So that's what I did. So we want to go here to the pet photo. We're going to reference this array and get the full URL. So there's the alt tag and here's the caption. Okay, so let's update and see if that's going to work. There's that. We don't have the name showing. So let's see what we've got, what we've done there. If you've done coding before, you know that you typically have some back and forth. What I'm going to do is, let's divide this up. There's the image. There's the caption. Oh, I misspelled pet name. Okay, not a biggie. Good. Now we want to center that, I guess. Let's add our inline code to the figure picture. Okay. So there's our picture. Now let's get the blurb. Some info here. Personal blurb. And there's our personal blurb. Now the next thing we need to do is loop through the repeater field. And this was actually the part that kind of took the most of my time. See, we have the group, and then we have within the group a text field with the name of the social site and a URL field with a link to the social site. And so what I found that I needed to do, I needed to create a loop here to loop through that repeater field. Even some of the better block collections don't have a block that'll handle a repeater field. So this is an example where having access to this MetaBox dynamic data type of block helps you to overcome some of the limitations that you might otherwise run into. What I'm going to do here is take this out and paste in our loop. Let's look at what that is. For sites in social media, that's the name of our group, social media. So sites, we're saying for each group, individual group in here, we have an anchor with a link to the social site, and then for the text for the anchor, the name of the social site. Okay, so to get that syntax just right took me a while. I really didn't see a twig example for the group like this with, two fields, but with some trial and error, I could figure it out. And let's go now and moment of truth. Okay, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. So just for grins, let's go look at another record. Okay, so this is another person. And we see her job title, finance director, email, Tamara Stone. Okay, here's her dog, and she has different social media links here. So we see that our block is functioning the way that we want it to. So now for some discussion and conclusions. This new type of block option is definitely not a no-code option. There is code. However, it's comparatively much less code than either the core React.js way of making blocks or the usual MetaBox or ACF way of creating blocks. It's another example of how MetaBox provides tools that help you overcome limitations that you might find yourself in. I wouldn't suggest this for a beginner, but certainly a power user or developer can create blocks this way. It took me a while to make my first block, mainly to find code examples that I could adapt, but I imagine I'll be able to create subsequent blocks much quicker. And I hope that if you decide to go this route, that the video and the Twig cheat sheet will help you get a running start. What do you think? Is this something you might use? Let me know in the comments below. There's a text version of the video on the WebTNG website, along with other walkthroughs, reviews, and resources. If you found the video useful, then please give it an upvote and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.